And welcome to this video. Today we are going to be working on Space Invaders in Python Part 4, Bullets and Collisions. Now, before we actually start off, please make sure to watch the previous videos because these are very important. I'll be putting the link in the description, okay? So, as I told you before, we're going to be working on Bullets and Collisions in Space Invaders Part 4. We are going to be using the pygame module. So first, I need to show you what our code looked like last time. Okay, so here's our code, and we need to run this. So Shift F10. Okay, so basically we have a moving enemy. So whenever it touches the border, it goes down, and then it goes to the other side, and then down again to the other side, down again, and so on. And also, what I want to say, so let me just run. Which one do I want to run? Main. Okay, so what we want to do is last time we had an error where this event was highlighted. So what you need to do is select all of this up to all the key presses and just tab that, and then it would have gone away. So that is the error we need to fix. And now let's actually go on to actually putting in the bullet. So basically, this was my bullet. So it's a very nice green bullet. It suits the ship, so I chose that. I'll be putting the link so you can download it. You can download the bullet. It's very nice, and I'll be putting the link. It's the perfect size, so you don't need a changer or anything. Okay. So, obviously we want to actually make our bullet. So what we want to do is we want to go to here, so enemy, put that there, and then paste that. So now instead of enemy, we want bullet. Okay, and obviously we want to change everything to bullet. Okay, so if I just copy this, it'll be much easier. So instead of enemy X, we can put bullet X, and instead of enemy Y, we can put we can put in bullet Y, and instead of enemy exchange, we can put in bullet exchange, and then instead of enemy Y change, we can put in bullet Y change. So some of these variables won't be useful, but we'll just be so for example, we won't be using bullet exchange. So what we want to do is we'll just change that to 0, and also I'm going to change Y to 10 because when we're moving the bullet, we don't want it to move fast. And also we're going to change the position of the bullet to 480 along the Y axis and 0 for the X axis. Okay, so it doesn't really matter about X, it matters a lot about Y. And also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another variable called bullet state. Now, what does this one do? So right now, I'm going to set this to ready. Now, why have I actually set this to ready? So let me just so why have we set this to ready? Because we want to know if our bullet is ready to be fired or not. So here I'm gonna say what should we say? So ready ready is, let me just format this properly. Ready is when we can't see the bullet or bullet on the screen. So basically, this is when the bullet is hiding under the player and we can't see it. And also, I'm gonna put in fire because we will have, a state called fire. So fire is when the bullet is currently moving. Okay, so when it's currently moving. So how are we going to move this bullet? So before we actually do that, what we want to do is we want to change this to, instead of enemy bullet PNG, I change this to bullet PNG. Okay, now we want to create a function called fire bullet so we can fire the bullet. So down here, I'm going to say def fire bullet. Okay, and we want to pass in x and y. And also I'm going to put in global bullet state. Okay, so this may seem confusing if you haven't seen this keyword before, but all I'm trying to say is I'm trying to let my Python interpreter know that I want to access my bullet state in this function. I want to access this bullet state variable in all functions. Okay, so when I do this, I'm going to say bullet state. So in the fire function, I'm going to set my bullet state. I'm going to set it to fire. Okay, so we can fire the bullet. And also what I'm going to do is I'm going to say screen dot bullet img because we want to bullet the image of the bullet, and then another set of brackets, and I'm going to say x plus 35 because 35 works really well for me. Otherwise you might want to change it, and the reason I'm putting in x plus 35 is because we want the bullet to come near the center and the top of the ship. So I'm going to also say y plus 10. And now we want this, so if we run this, our bullet is not on the screen at all, and this is because we only defined the function, we didn't call it, and we actually didn't make this function persisting. So a way we can do that is we can put it in infinity while loop. Okay, so what we are going to do is in our while loop, we want to detect some key presses. So over here, we can just copy this. Paste it, and instead of k right we want k space. Whoops, what happened here? We want k space. Okay, we want space. And what do we want to do when the space key is pressed? So we want the bullet to fire. Okay. So, whoops, let me just take away that. I just put that to give you guys an idea. So, how are we going to do this? I'm going to say fire bullet, okay, and then I'm also going to say bullet, actually not bullet. Let's put in player, oh my goodness, player X and bullet y. So don't worry, this is actually wrong, but don't worry, it's just a logic error, but don't worry about it, we'll still fix it. Okay, so I'm just putting that in as a little placeholder. Now we want to actually define that, like when we are going to move our bullets. So what I'm going to do is under border check for enemy over here, I'm going to put in a comment saying bullet movement. Okay, because we want to move our bullet. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to say if bullet state is equal to fire. So if it is currently moving, then I'm going to say fire bullet, and then I'm going to put in bullet X, and I'm also going to put in bullet Y, and I'm going to say bullet Y minus equals bullet Y change. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because we want the bullet to move up. So, if we run this, okay, so I don't know what happened to my enemy here. So you saw that the bullet just came over here. So if I rerun that, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to press space. Look, my bullet is coming out of here. Okay, now that is not what we wanted at all. It's very crazy to have a bullet just firing out of the side of the screen, because that is not what we want. So what are we actually going to do about that? So we've changed it to 0. We've changed 0 and 450, but we also put in where is it? Player X and bullet Y, and it still did not work. So basically, why is this? Why is it not using player X as well? So if we just if we run this again, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run it. Okay, so it's firing out of there. Now that isn't what we want, is it? So what we want to actually do is, as you saw here, I put in bullet X instead. So what we want to do is we're going to put in player X and see what happens. So if I put shift and F10, see, we can only shoot the bullet once. Now I'm just pressing my space button continuously and nothing's happening. But before we actually fix the thing, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to tweak this to 33 and just, so again, as you can see, we can only shoot once, okay? And we are going to fix that right now. So what I'm going to do is, in bullet movement, we want to delete that bullet and reset it to the position it was when we started the game, because otherwise we can only fire one bullet and it's not really a nice Space Invaders game. So I'm going to say if bullet Y, so the Y coordinate of bullet, if it is smaller than or equal to 0, that means it has gone off the top side of the screen. So if that happens, we want to set a bullet Y is equal to 480, so the Y coordinate it was at, and then we want to set the bullet state to ready, so it is not moving. So bullet, whoops, not change actually, bullet. Oh my goodness, so many typos today. We want to set our bullet state to ready. Okay, so now let's run this and see. Okay, so we can fire as many bullets as we want now. But let me just slow this down and show you something that is happening quite annoyingly. So I'm going to change this to 3. Right, shift and F10. As you can see, this bullet is moving along with me, okay? So if I test it again, see, my bullet is moving with the same x-axis as my player. So if I just change this to 7, because that's the speed I want, well, that is not what we want. So as you can see, this is actually happening because we put player X, but it will fire from the side of the screen if we put in bullet X, okay? So how are we going to solve this? So basically what I am going to do is right here and near the key presses, I'm going to say bullet X is equal to player X. Okay, now we can change this to bullet X, and also we want to change this to bullet X as well. So now I'll just change the speed back to 3. I don't know why I changed it. I don't know why I actually just changed it back to 7. But if we, okay, I don't know what happened to my enemy. See, now the bullet is moving individually on its own. But if we do multiple bullets, well, the bullet's moving along with me now. So that isn't what we want. That's just really weird, and, you know, it's not what we actually wanted. So, what are we going to do about that? Well, basically, what we want to do is we want to what is it again? We want to set the condition back to we want to set our condition back to ready, okay? Because if we change it back to ready, then it won't like keep on what is it called? It won't keep on following me. Okay, so how are we going to do this? Well, what we want to do is here, over here in the spacebar, we want to put in an if statement. So we can only fire it once we have fired another bullet. Another bullet. So if I'm gonna say if the bullet state is equal to ready. So this basically is gonna say we can now basically we're going to only be able to fire one at a time and it will be successful. So if I tab that, and now let's try. Okay, so we can only fire a bullet once it has gone off the screen. So obviously if I make that faster, I'll just change it to 7 again. Okay, see? Okay, so if I just change the speed so we can fire a bit faster. Sorry, I'm just tweaking a lot of stuff over here. Okay, so beautiful. We can do as many bullets as we like. It's beautiful, okay? So now we want to actually detect when a collision has happened, because otherwise how are we going to do Space Invaders without killing enemies? So we want to detect collision. So what I'm going to do is right here in fire bullets, under fire bullets, sorry, I'm going to say def is collision. Okay, that's a big typo there. Put 3 L's. So I'm not gonna put in any. I'm not actually gonna put in anything. No parameters. Okay. Now I'll tell you why. Because all I want to do is I want to take bullet X and bullet Y, and also I want to say I want to take enemy X and enemy Y. So how am I gonna do that? So I'm gonna say global enemy X. So now we're telling our Python interpreter, hey, we want to take this global variable, so a variable that is defined outside of function. So we want to take this global variable and use that in this function. Okay, so I'm going to say global enemy X and just copy this, and then we can paste it 4 times and just change these. So instead of enemy X, we want enemy Y. And instead of enemy X, we want bullet Y, because remember our bullet is colliding with the enemy, so we want to kill it. And also I'm going to say bullet Y. Okay, so bullet enemy X, enemy Y, bullet X, bullet Y. So how are we going to calculate the distance? Now there's a formula for that, okay, and you'll see what this formula is while we are in this function. So I'm going to say the distance, because we're going to calculate if they have collided, if a particular distance is short enough. So if we want to do that, we are going to use some functions from the some methods from the math module. So I'm going to say import math. Okay, so I've imported that. Beautiful. This involves the square root, because we want to find the square root of a whole sum. Okay, so I'll explain this, don't worry. So math.s sqrt, so that means square root. And what do we want to square root? So after that I'm gonna put in math.pow. So now I want to find the power of something. I want to find the power of enemy X minus bullet X. And then also I'm going to put in a comma and 2. So I want to find the value of enemy X minus bullet X to the power of 2. And after that, I am going to put in an add sign, and also I'm going to say math.pow, and I'm going to say enemy Y plus bullet Y. Okay, and also I want to do the power of 2 as well. So this is a very complex mathematical It's very complex calculation. You could have learned this in school or college or wherever. Um, um, but I hope you understood it. If you are familiar with the math method, you could have understood it. Now, after that, I'm going to say if the distance is equal to, I'm going to say 135 because that works perfectly for me. Otherwise, you can just do that yourself. So I'm going to say if not equal to, so if the distance is smaller than actually, so if it is smaller than, I'm going to say return true, and you'll see why we'll do that in a minute. And after that, I'm going to say else return false. Now, instead of doing all of this, I could have just have said return false like this, but I wanted you guys to understand, so I'm just gonna put in else return false, okay? But you can do the other way if you like. So now, how are we gonna detect the collision? So under bullet movement, I'm going to put in collision check. Okay, so I'm going to check for the collision. And also I'm going to create a variable called collision. Okay, and I'm going to say this is equal to is collision, and remember we don't need to put in any parameters. And now I'm going to put in an if statement. So I'm going to say if collision. So if the result of collision is equal to true, then I'm going to set bullet, the y coordinate of my bullet, I'm going to set it to 480, and then I'm going to set my bullet state to ready so I can shoot again. And after that, I'm going to say score plus equals what. Now, don't worry, it's not too complex. So, right on top of player over here, I'm just going to put in score is equal to 0. And then above that, I'm just going to put in score. Whoops, not a plus sign, sorry. Hashtag. There we go. And after I want to print down the score. And also, let's actually test this out now. Okay, so the bullet is colliding. So let me just expand my panel like this. So let's just run this. Let's just wait. Okay, so as you can see, it says 1 now. So I'm gonna try get this to actually 3. So we don't actually know when it collides. So what I'm going to do, it has collided, don't worry. So what I'm gonna do over here is I'm gonna set this to probably 140 or something. And then if I run this, just wait for my enemy. Okay, so it says 1. So let's just wait for it to calm down a bit more. Okay. So actually that's working, but as you can see, our enemy isn't moving, so we don't actually know when it scores. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to our enemy, and I'm going to copy and paste enemy X and enemy Y, and then I'm going to paste that down here after I print my score. So now it's going to go at a random position. Okay, so as you can see, it went to a random position, and my score is 1. Okay, so now, as you can see, maybe the distance didn't work. So as I told you, we need to tweak and tweak and tweak our distance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tweak my distance and come back when I have. Okay, so I've tweaked my value to 150. Now, if I do Shift and F10, I will shoot. Okay, so as you can see, that spawned in a different direction. Now, as you can see, the score is only coming up once, but it is colliding, but our enemy isn't moving. Now, don't worry, that's not a problem. In the next video, when we start spawning multiple enemies, we'll be able to fix that. But let's review our code before we end this video. So what did we do? We made our bullet. We also created a fire bullet function, and we fired that bullet when we pressed the space key. We made sure the bullet didn't follow the player, and we also made a collision function, and we detected the collision, and when it collided, it went to a random other place. But our enemy only spawned once. But don't worry about that. As I told you before, we will work it out in the next video where we will be spawning more enemies because it will be easier there, okay? Please remember, if you don't understand, if you think your code got a bit wrong, don't worry, I'll be putting the link for my code and then you can review it. I'll also put the image for the bullet so you can download it. And please remember to, if you like this video, please press the like button and subscribe. If you have any doubts, please comment below. If you have any suggestions, please comment those below as well. And I guess that's the end of this video. Bye!